I'm Daniel Murphy and welcome to 12 Minutes. On tonight's show, a resource aimed at upper primary teachers that has the ability to be adapted to teachers of all grades. This is the game of Chook Ball. So we're here with the great inventors of the new game known as Chook Ball. To start off with, what is this game?
So Chook Ball is it's an invasion game, very similar to netball, which focuses on the object control skills of throwing and catching.
So, what do you believe the best features of this game are?
It's inclusive for all skill levels, so you don't necessarily have to be able to catch cleanly or throw accurately and fast to be able to participate. Everyone can play.
Another thing is probably it's all age groups can participate, so it can be adapted to anywhere from like 3 to 6 to 7 to 12.
And we also think, or I personally think, that it's been very successful in us implementing it in classrooms. So kids are enjoying, kids are improving, and hopefully that's what other schools are going to get out of the process.
Yep. So, if I was a teacher, why should I want to implement this in my classroom?
That's a good question. Well, as we said, it's a very inclusive game which allows for all skill levels to be involved. Also, we think it can be adapted from a kinder level, so a really low level, all the way up to sort of year 12. As we talked about with the object control, so we think it's a better way, more of a game sense way, to allow students to develop their throwing and catching skills instead of just your stock standard throwing to a partner, and that. So it's incorporating a bit of movement, a bit more fun, and more or less getting them to do the skill without knowing.
Yeah. So what sort of equipment would we be using to make this most appropriate in classrooms?
Well, if you just follow us to the gym, we'll show you.
All that I want in this life is the chance to do my thing. All that I want in this life is the chance to do my thing. Yeah.
The equipment we're using is cones, which are going to be used to mark out the zones. Bibs, which we use to differentiate between the two teams. A catching pad and a baseball mitt, which we use for varying skill levels. A rebound net, which is used to score. Tennis ball, which is the main ball during the game. And then we'll also have 2 backboards at either end, which are also used for scoring.
So you mentioned with the catching pad and the baseball glove that they'd be representing different skill levels. So how will we be bringing that into the game exactly?
So the people with the advanced skill will just use their hands to catch the ball.
Students who struggle to catch the ball with their hands but still have some skill level will be using a baseball mitt to catch the ball.
And low level skill learners will be using the catch pad and just pushing it.
So what age group are we looking to target today, and are there any sort of developmental delays that could be possible to affect the students' performance?
Today the game's focused on a grade 5-6 student level. Obviously, at this age, they're going to have different levels of skill, different skill levels, and so really adopted this or adapted this game to suit them. We have one student who's in a wheelchair. She'll still be actively involved in the game as she's still able to catch and throw. Students are aware that she may struggle moving around, wheeling her chair and catching, so her teammates are offered to push her around sometimes when she needs it. There's also students in the class that have physical delays. These may be disabilities, or there's some that just haven't had the exposure to throwing and catching like the rest of the class have. For these guys, they'll be using the catch pad to obviously help them guide the ball onto the catch pad. The guys with intellectual disabilities, they function a little slower, and obviously the game speed may need to slow down to help them. That's where the zones come in, as it gives them a chance to attack, defend and be in the midfield without all the children in the class running all over the court. So it really allows them the time and space to think about what they're doing. They've got 5 seconds with the ball obviously, so they can work that around and move the ball on. So hopefully, we'll see how we go once we get started, but hopefully they're all inclusive and they're all included.
So let's get to the important stuff. How do you score?
The students with a high skill level of catching, the way they score is to catch off the rebound net.
Students with the intermediate skill level will be scoring by catching the ball after it's thrown off the backboard.
And the low level students are able to score by catching the ball off the ball.
So are you able to give us an example of a good throw and catch? And also an example of a bad throw and catch?
According to KidSense Child Development, students who do not develop the skills of throwing and catching may experience the following: difficulty participating in sporting activities, poor self-esteem due to their skills not matching that of their peers, bullying when others become aware of a child's difficulties.
According to Barnett, just as children need to be taught their ABCs to read and write, they also need to be taught fundamental movement skills such as throwing and catching to provide the strongest foundation for a physically active lifestyle. Children who are proficient in these areas are more likely to be physically active and have adequate cardiovascular fitness. They are also less likely to be overweight or obese compared to children who are not proficient. In addition, competent children are more likely to become active adolescents than those who aren't.
Well, once more time to decide on when it's killing me, when will I really see all that I need to look inside? Come to believe that I better not leave before I get my chance to ride. When it's killing me, what do I really need? All that I need to look inside. Hey, oh, listen what I say, oh. Come back and hey, oh, look at what I say.
Giving students the opportunity to develop their throwing and catching skills is important, as it has been shown by the Victorian Education Department that students who have achieved competence in these areas are able to successfully participate in sports and a range of activities throughout their lifetime.
So, how do you think the game went today?
I thought it went well. The students had a pretty high skill level though.
And because of that high skill level, we decided to take the zones out and really adapt that game to suit that particular class.
So, when playing Chook Ball, how are we supposed to assess the students?
So we're obviously assessing students on their object control skills of throwing and catching. During class, as the game's going on, we've designed a checklist which is attached on the handout that each individual will receive. As you can see, there's a catching and a throwing checklist, and what we're really looking for when catching is that students have their eyes on the ball, the hands are in a close proximity to their head, they give with the ball, so use soft hands instead of being really hard at the ball, usually cause spillage, and that they actually hold on and successfully complete the catch. Moving on to throwing, we want students to be pointing at the target when they're throwing, we want them to step towards the target. Yet when on ball release, you need to bring your non-throwing hand into your chest, as that will allow follow through and the step of the hip over. Obviously we're looking also at the release of the ball and accuracy, so that's also on the checklist, and as I mentioned, that follow through all the way. Moving on to the rubric, that can be used in reference after the checklist. So the rubric, obviously you've ticked off, so you move after the students have been dismissed. As an overall assessment task, you'll go onto the rubric and then look at catching and throwing there. The way we've designed it is 0 means that the student needs improvement and 3 is that it's exceeding expectation. Obviously 1 and 2 are progressing and meeting expectation. As we move through catching, if the student can't track the object, they're obviously not going to be able to successfully catch, so that'll be a 0. They need some improvement. Progressing towards, students may have the eyes on the ball, but they're unable to obviously get their hands near the ball or might not be able to hold on to the catch. So they're progressing. Students that are meeting expectation will have the eyes on the ball. They may flinch, but they're able to get their hands to the ball to catch, and holds onto the catch reasonably about 75% of the time. If students are exceeding expectation, that's the model that we're moving them towards. So obviously their eyes are on the ball, their hands are in close proximity to the head to get their balance, and they're successfully catching the ball. On to throwing. Students that need improvement obviously aren't throwing the ball back, they're not pointing, and the ball isn't reaching the target or isn't going the distance. Students that are working towards are stepping forward, that's beginning to get that backswing and point in, but the throw still isn't consistently hitting the target. Students that are at standard have got their arms pointing, the ball in a nice backswing, coming through as they stand. The follow through is progressing, it's starting to develop, and they're having some success with hitting targets. Obviously the model and people who are exceeding expectation are throwing with accuracy and power, and that encapsulates all the stuff that we've talked about through the checklist. Obviously with some developmental delays, students may not be able to successfully throw and catch, but that doesn't mean they should be marked down. So we've also included an engagement part in our rubric. So if students are willingly and actively participating, trying to help the game flow, helping others, but are still unsuccessful in throwing and catching, they can still attain that high mark. Whereas on the opposite end, students may have all the skill in the world, but may not be participating, may not be involving everyone, so they'll be able to get a low mark from that. How the overall mark works, if you add the points up for the 3 criteria, students exceeding expectation will finish on 9 points. If you're meeting expectation, they'll finish from 6 to 8 points. If they're progressing towards the expectation, it'll be 3 to 5. And if the student needs overall improvement, they will be from 0 to 2 points.